Hey guys, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and in today's video, I'm doing another episode in my Building the Shot series, going over how I created this image on the screen here of Keandra from a photo shoot that I did earlier this month. If you're familiar with my channel, then you might recognize Keandra from a few other videos that I made with her, and if you're not familiar with my channel, all you need to know is that in this Building the Shot series, all I do is basically break down everything I can about how a single photo of mine was taken, and in this case, it's going to be that photo of Keandra that I just showed you on the screen. I am currently working on a behind the scenes video of just showing the footage and then the final results from this photo shoot, so if that video is out already, you can find a link to that video in the description area below, as well as the top right corner of the screen. One thing I have been considering going forward with this series is reducing the amount of time I talk about editing, because I feel like it's more important to talk about the gear and the process, and the editing just makes the videos longer and could be saved for a separate video. So I was wondering if you guys agree with that or not. Let me know in the comment section below. Before I continue though, I do want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Adorama. Adorama is an industry-leading retailer that has been serving photography, videography, and audio customers for almost 50 years now. Their motto is everyone is a creator, and they do their best to unleash that creator within us all by providing us with the tools and expertise necessary to get the job done. I personally shop at Adorama for both the great deals and products I use and recommend, but also the great customer service on those products as well. If you find yourself interested in any product I talk about in today's video, check the links that will be in the description area below, and be sure to use those links if you decide to order. Once again, the photo on the screen here is the photo that we are going to be talking about in today's video, and the first thing I want to talk about is how it was lit. Since it was a low light environment, it was a night photo shoot outdoors, I didn't need a lot of power, so even though I did use a strobe as the main light, which was the Explorer 400 Pro, also known as the Kodak 8400 Pro, I didn't actually fire that strobe. I actually used the constant mounting lamp that it does have, which is about 30 watts of power. The modifier that I used for that light, the Explorer 400 Pro, was the Cheetah Stand 42-inch beauty dish. When it comes to the rim light, I used the Godak's LC500R, which is an RGB tube light, and I did my best to match the existing ambient light that was hitting the wall next to her. I did my best to match that color of light to the RGB light so that I can get somewhat of a realistic rim light on her, and I had barn doors to really kind of aim that light on the side of her and not spill onto that wall that was right next to her. The camera gear that I used was the Sony a7R III. I just love the resolution on that camera. It's my favorite camera since it came out, which I think was 2017. But the lens that I used was actually a new lens that came out just today, I believe, by SIRUI, and it is the 56mm f1.2, but it's actually for crop sensor lenses, but I didn't mind that. I use some crop sensor lenses that I have on my Sony a7R III, and I still get good resolution, so that is the lens that I use, and it's a new lens, so I will be doing a review on it very soon. On the screen right here is the first photo of Keandra that I took at this photo shoot at this specific location by the wall. And one thing I want you to pay attention to is the angle compared to this first photo compared to the second photo. You can see that there is a different background behind her because I shifted a little bit to the left, and I actually went to a lower dramatic angle as well. So pay attention to that. Really try to see that in this photo compared to this photo. You can see that background change and the angle change as well. And it was all intentional because I wanted a little bit more drama from a lower angle. And when it came to this first photo, it was a nice background to me because I thought she could be a little bit in the middle of that transition between light and dark. But I felt like even though I did have a rim light for her, she just blended into the background a little bit too much. So by shifting a little bit to the left, I got more of that brightly lit background, which was better to be behind her. This specific pose and the resulting photo that I took was actually inspired by this photo on the screen right here. And obviously it's a very different pose and a whole different vibe, but it is what inspired my photo. So I thought to just reference it and show you guys in this video. One thing that I did eventually change from this photo to this next one was the eyes, of course. I felt like she was looking too much to the side. Keandra does tend to look a little bit to the side, and I just have to direct her a little bit, closer to the camera, and then we get a better result. But she was actually moving and I caught her movement, so that's why you see her hand there. Of course, in this next photo, you can see the pose is very similar to that other pose, and she's now looking to the camera. And I think for the next couple of photos, I was just changing my composition just slightly. Even though I did not like the darker kind of background behind her, I did take a step back and shifted a little bit to the left, because in this photo, you can see that this little bar here was showing up and I didn't really like that. So I took a little bit step back, shifted a little bit to the left, and I got a little bit more of that darker background. And I think it did actually work for this photo because she's in the middle of that transition between the dark and the bright kind of background. So I did like this kind of composition. And I think for the next couple of photos, we were just trying to vary the pose because it was windy that day and I was trying to capture the wind. With this photo, she did go back to drifting her eyes a little bit to the left, and she also changed the pose. We know the hands now up and in the hair, but I did want to kind of go away from how her pose was in this photo. So I did ask her to drop her arms, and I got this pose, which I did think was better. But again, I have the eyes drifting to the side, so I asked her to look to the camera, and it had this result with this photo. But just like I mentioned before, with this dang rail right here on the bottom, it was just bugging me. So I did shift a little bit to the left and got a little bit more of that darker ambient like before. And the next couple of photos were just a matter of timing. So I was trying to capture that wind, and I didn't really capture it in this photo. I did get a nice drop of the dress. It's, you know, very nicely flowing down. And then I started to get more of the wind. And actually this wasn't wind. I think we started to just throw the dress and try to capture some motion with the pose that we did end up with, which was arms down and, you know, one arm to the side and one arm on the railing, which is what you're seeing on the screen right here. And in this photo, I did actually like how the dress looked like when it was just being held up by Ashley. So I took a photo like that, and then we started to just throw the dress, and I changed my camera from regular single shot to burst mode, which is what you're going to see in a couple of seconds right now when I show you the rest of the images. Here is the first photo I took with the movement. And even though this next photo here is the resulting photo that I ended up editing, I am going to go past this and show you guys the different kind of captures that I took of the dress moving. So again, here's the photo that I ended up editing, but you can see that I did get the drop all the way down, moving down. We threw the dress up again and again and again and again. And you can see her trying to kind of flow pose. This is not a good throw of the dress, but I just want to show you guys all the different kind of shots that we took because we were really trying to capture that movement. So here are all the different shots with the slight little bit of wind that was happening. And then this is another shot from another location. The reason why you do see this photo also adjusted in terms of like editing the color and different things is because for this photo and this photo here, this photo I did actually like her face and everything here, but the dress I wasn't really a big fan of. So I actually got this dress here and merged it with this one here to create the overall end result, which is the photo you're about to see on the screen right here again. If you hadn't noticed yet, you can see that the settings are ISO 2000, F1.2, 1/640th of a second. And the whole reason for those settings is because I did want to capture motion in this low light environment. So I did have to have a high shutter speed for that fast movement of the dress. And I did need to raise the ISO just to get a little bit more ambient that was existing around her. If I lowered the ISO, then I would get less of that ambient light behind her, that bright light on the wall that's next to her that I did like. And if I went to a slower shutter speed, then I would have got way too much motion blur on the dress. So the high ISO was for the ambient and the high shutter speed was for the motion. And of course the f1.2 was for a nice blurry background. But of course it did actually help with getting more ambient light into the photo. So that was also a benefit. And that's pretty much it for this video. Again, I am making a behind the scenes video from this photo shoot, so look forward to that. And if you guys are interested in seeing an editing video about how I edited this photo and created that end result that you saw on the screen a couple of times already, then let me know if you want to see that in the comment section below. I want to give one last thanks to Adorama for sponsoring this video, because when they do that, it allows me to keep making free content for you guys, so definitely check them out. Take care guys, I'll see you in the very next video.